Good day to one and all. This is Dr. Sivaraman of iknowindices.com. Sorry for the delayed start because of some thing to be done by me. And now I'm going to review the forecast, what I had given it on Tuesday, 13th of September. Today we are on 16th of September between 5 and 5:30 GMT. I will try to do the live market analysis and also review the forecast, what I had given it on Tuesday, and also do the market reading for today being the weekend. So my contact details are given here. My email ID, dr@iknowindices.com, and my Skype chat ID, iknowindices@hotmail.com, and my website, www.i-knowindices.com. So normally we have three components in my trading system. One is the derived forecast, then the market reading and the live market analysis using the initial lows and the highs, which are set around 3:30 GMT. With the help of the live market code page, we do the study and find out what is the intention of the player. Then we always take the contingency plan that in the event if the forecast goes wrong and the market goes against the expectations, then how do we handle the positions? We simply do not blame the forecast. Instead, we handle the trade and successfully close with a net profit. And for that, we have the trading strategy. First of all, we will take up the forecast part of it. So as we have seen that Monday, they gained the levels, and then subsequently from Tuesday onwards, they started dropping Euro and GBP. In GBP, they dropped it from 1.33 area to 1.31 area, and then subsequently they had gained it. And yesterday also, they made the slide during that of the European session for that of the BOE interest rate decision, and then subsequently it was closed, they formed up, and then made the swing and rise move during that of the US session. And today they are expected to make the swing and rise during that of the Japanese session, and then followed by that swing and slide during the European session in order to induce the long holders to liquidate the long, and that the players will pick up, and then subsequently they will gain the levels and induce the short covering from that of the short sellers and induce them to do the short covering for the weekend. So by dropping the earn the money from that of the long holders, they sell it in distress, and so that the players are able to buy it at the lowermost level and then gain and induce the short sellers to do the short covering. Thereby they sell it, they book profit with it of the short sellers and earn money. So either way they make the money, but they induce the traders to commit wrongly following technicals and fundamentals, and then see that they are being trapped. So this is the normal scenario we come across in the market every time. So the players are smart because they are able to get the inside information, and also they are able to find whether the traders are let long and let short, and accordingly they are able to make the moves, and they also accommodate the events and the technical analysis into consideration and pretend as if the market is following technicals and fundamentals, and create the confusion to that of the traders whether the market is going to follow at a given time the technical or the fundamental. That is enough for them to earn money from that of the market. So next week they are going to make the trending move. This week, as I explained, that they are expected to make the mid-month trend reversal move, and next week they are expected to make upward trending move in the market. So during that time, we could come across swing and rise move, less drop and more rise moves are expected to happen in the case of Euro and GBP, as well as USD and USD CHF. Now coming to that of the levels in which the currencies were making the swings. So Euro was expected to come down below the 1.12, but they have been holding it around 1.1211 and then went up to 1.12683. So it's just a matter of about 70 pips or 72 pips swing all through the week they have been doing it. And in the case of GBP, as I explained, that they went up to 1.33 on Monday. I just gave the sell and buy trade call in the case of GBP, and you know about it. And then subsequently they made the drop to 1.31 on the penultimate day, that is on Wednesday, before that of the BOE interest rate decision, and then subsequently they just hover around that of 1.318090 level yesterday after that of the BOE interest rate decision towards late European session and started firming up and started gaining the levels during that of the US session. And slowly they gained the level to 1.32. And today they are expected to gain the level above that of 1.3342 as an intentional slow gaining move. And in the case of yen, it was expected to come down to 101 level from 103. They dropped it to 101.42 and then hovering around that of 102 level, and they could retest the low 101.42 or 101.50 area and then start gaining the levels towards close of the Japanese US session. Then in the case of CHF, 0.97 was the expected low, and they just came down to 9696 and then started gaining the level and currently holding closer to low, but they went up to 9790 and slowly they are expected to gain the level also. But everywhere you come across, narrow range swings are happening in the market. In the case of commodity pairs, USD CAD came down to 1.3030 level and went up to 1.32. And again here you find more of a consolidation. They did not come down below 1.30 and they are likely to come down in coming week. Then in the case of Australian dollar, it came down to 74.47 and then went up to 75.68 and they are holding it in a very narrow range, less than 100 pips or 120 pips. So you find moreover in all the pairs the consolidation, but they initially made the week beginning false move on the upside and then started making the drop and made further drop on Wednesday, and then Thursday they slowly gained after making lower level consolidation. Friday they are expected to gain back the levels. So this way they are making either way stop and moves, wide range swing moves in the market. Now these are all the initial lows and the highs of the days I noted down, and here you find today the initial low was 1.1239 and they just breached it by 3 pips and come above 1.1239 level, and they are likely to breach the high. And in the case of GBP, 1.3221 is the low and they are not breached it, and currently holding around 1.3234 and the high is 1.3248. They are expected to slowly breach the high and gain the levels during the late Japanese and the early European session. Then again continue to gain during the US session. And in the case of yen, they've been showing 101.42 as the low and then consolidating, making brief downward stoppings. 101.76 they have shown the low, 102.14, so it should be 14 as the high, and then they just made about 100 pip swing and they are likely to breach and go above, and so they are not breached the low or the high. Then in the case of CHF, 97.12 is the low and 97.23 is the high, is simply consolidating without breaching the low or the high. Then Canadian dollar 1.3142 is the low, 1.3166 is the high. There again they are not breached the low or the high. Then Australian dollar 74.98 is the low and 75.27 is the high. They are not breached it. So in all you come across, they are not breached the low or the high, excepting euro, wherein they just breached the high and holding around that of the high. They are likely to, holding closer to that of the initial low, and they are likely to breach the low. Go above that of the initial low and start breaching the high and start gaining more levels during the day. Now the trade calls. So you can buy 1.1239 euro and then keep 1.1278 as the exit and 1.1200 as the stop. You should be able to see the gain and the profit. And again, in the case of USD GBP, 1.3224 you can take a buy, and if they make a small dip before making a rise, and 1.3283 you can keep the exit, and they are likely to go above, and at that time use the trailing stop and maximize the profit. And 1.3180 you can keep the hedge order to limit the risk, and they are likely to come down in the case of USD in order to give the USD weakening move trigger. Now you find that all the three pairs, majors, Euro, GBP as well as USD are showing negative net change as a contrarian move. They are making a downward dip in the case of USD and quickly they will make a dip in the case of USD that will give the USD weakening trigger in the market, and then that will influence Euro and GBP to gain more level. Later on, they will gain the USD level also. At that time, when they are making a downward stop and try to take a buy, then you will be able to book profit in your buy position. Then in the case of Australian dollar, you can buy around the market 75.13.14 level, and they are likely to go up to 75.80 and 74.90. You can keep the hedge order to limit the risk. So these are all the market timings. You can follow that Japanese session from 0030 to 7 GMT, and 7 to 7:30 GMT is the gap time before the start of the European session, and 7:30 to 13 GMT is the European session, and 13 to 13:30 GMT is the gap time before the start of the US session, and 13:30 to 20:30 is the US session. 20:30 to next day 0030 is the gap time before the start of the Japanese session again. And each session is subdivided into three sub-sessions, namely the early, mid, and the late session. Early and the late session, they handle the majors. Mid-session, they handle the crosses. So if you're trading in majors, try to take the position during the early session, close it during the late session. You will be able to see definite profit. But instead, during the mid-session, if they are making an opposite move, if you try to become worried about it, then you will get confused. Okay. Next week, on Monday, 19th September, I will come and give the forecast for the next week. And also, on 21st of September, I'll be giving the tracking the Forex market together part 1 and part 2 webinar. And, on that day, we'll come across the FOMC interest rate decision. So obviously the market is going to be subdued, but still they will make swings on either side in order to indicate to the traders that the market is alive. And then later on, during that of the FOMC, they are expected to make big swings. And I'll explain to you during that part how exactly the market is expected to behave before and after that of the FOMC meeting. So if you have got any doubt, you can ask me in the question and answer window. I'll be willing to answer to those questions. I'm just showing the forecast slide so that if you want, you can take information pertaining to today's move and also next week, how exactly they are expected to make the move. Any question, please? Then you can see the range in which the currencies are expected to swing. So in line with that of the expectations, the market has made the move and they are likely to continue the swing during early part of next week and then start gaining more during that of the, because when the traders wait for the outcome of the FOMC before committing position, The players need to hold the market. They cannot take up the market in a hurry, but still they will slowly come up and hold near the high set for the week, and then continue to gain the levels after that of the FOMC. That sort of moves are expected. So the initial lows and the highs. So only in the case of euro, they just breached the initial low and come up. But in the case of GBP, they are not breached the low or the high. Yen again, they are not breached the low or the high. CHF also, they are not breached the low or the high. Canadian dollar and Australian dollar also, they are not breached the low or the high, indicating the market is just subdued and they are waiting for the volumes to come up from the European session. We could come across active news happening in the market. So the trade calls, I just displayed it here, and you can just take the buy position and book profit during that of the European session. So during the mid-session, if the book profit, it will be fine. Otherwise, wait for the market to go further upward and then book profit during the US session as an intraday trade. Or if you want to do the session-wise trade, then try to take position during the late Japanese session and book profit during the early part of the European session when they gain. The late session, they will drop again. At the time, buy back euro and GBP and also USD and then book profit during that of the US session. So such two trades we will be able to do as small swing trades today. These are all the market timings which I explained it. Okay, no more question coming forward. So I'll try to wind up the webinar. So I take this opportunity to thank FX Trade for the facilities provided to present the webinar and for your kind presence and listening to the webinar so that we are able to understand how exactly the players are manipulating the market. And I'll come back on Monday and give you the forecast for the next week and also take up the track in the Forex market to the webinar and explain to you more how exactly we have to develop our trading system using the forecast model, the market reading, and the trading strategy all put together. We'll be able to get a perfect money management system. Thereby, we'll be able to consistently earn money from the market. So, wish you all very happy weekend. See you on Monday.